All right, guys. So welcome to this class. So in this class, we'll be learning how to build no-code applications with Google Opal. So this is our topic for today. We'll be learning how to build simple no-code apps with Google Opal. Let me reduce this size. Okay, so a no-code app is simply, now this is just a recap so that I refresh your mind. A no-code app is simply an app that doesn't require a programming language for you to relate with it. Programming language like Java or Python, right? I told you that for two bodies to communicate, they need to have at least they need to speak the same language. And just like we have our languages like Hausa, Yoruba, computers also have a language that they understand. Everybody has a language they understand. There are people that can understand Yoruba, there are others that understand Igbo. So for the computers don't understand Igbo or Hausa or Yoruba. They have a language which is called the computer language. And examples of this language is Python, Java, HTML, and the rest of them. So now, prior to AI coming, um, people needed to learn how to speak the language of computers. That was why we had programmers. Programmers are just people who go through the rigorous process of learning the language of computers to be able to relate with computers, to use it to build apps, to build softwares, to build websites, and the rest. But when AI came, AI did something such that it reduced the barrier of entry into the world of building softwares. In that, what AI did was that because AI was or because AI is very, very smart, they were able to build a system such that you can relate to computer, like you can build an app just by using your own natural language. So now this doesn't take away coding, right? Remember that this does not take away coding, but what it does is that when you send your when you type in your prompt in your language, that prompt is converted to the language that the AI understand. I'm sorry, that computer understands. This happens in the back end, and when it converts it to the language that the computer understands, then you get the result. So today we are going to be learning how to build no-code apps. No-code apps just means that you don't need to code it using Google Opal. Now we are going to be using a very, very defined workflow. Remember I taught you about workflow and I explained that one thing that a workflow does is that a workflow helps to arrange your work, and then it helps to keep your work predictable and repeatable. When you have a workflow for a task that you're working on, you can always repeat that task. So we are going to be documenting every single step of what we'll be doing, so that when you want to do it for yourself, all you just need to do is follow the workflow. So before you start building your app, remember I said that the first thing before you start building an app is to know the solution that you want the app to solve. So every application starts with a solution. Every application starts with a solution. So what should we build? So let's build an app. In class we were working on this before the network went off. So today we are going to be building an app for a little child, right? The app is going to help the little child to learn. The app will explain, it will be like a tutor and a guide for the child to teach the child to explain big concept and break it down for the child. So let's imagine that you're a parent and you're always very busy and you want an extra tutor for your child, but you do not want to just let the child maybe go online to learn things, because you know that online you can see harmful content. So you want to control the content and build a simple app that can teach your child whether you are there or you are not, and you can be sure that they are learning the right thing. So imagine that you're a parent and you have that problem and you want to build a solution. That means you want to build an app that can teach your child in the language that your child understands, so you can customize the learning experience for your child, right? So that's what we are going to be doing today. So the first step now is to go to this website. You'll be going to Opal. So the website is just go to www.opal.google, right? So you click on enter, and then so let's document that down. So step number one, we'll be documenting our workflow. go to www.opal.google. So that is workflow number one. Let's extend this and resize this. All right. So when you go to Google Opal, the next step is to come here, create new. So you come to this place, create new, and then you wait for it to, now it has opened. So let's go back and document it. Step number two, click create new. All right, so after you've clicked create new, now this is the interface that you will see. Now, in this is the interface that you'll be building. Everything we want to build is going to be through this interface. Now, there are two ways to do this. You can do it the manual way by defining your workflow. Remember, I said that the workflow is just a sequence of steps that helps you accomplish a particular task. So we can build it manually, or we can just build it by describing what you want to build. Now, building it manually will help you to have more control over the steps, but building it through a prompt, well, it will still help you, but this one we are going to start by building it manually, then later on we'll build it up automatically, because I know that if I show you how to do it automatically, you may never come back to building it manually again, and there you miss a lot of things. So now, whenever you are building an app on Google Opal, there are three workflows that must be followed. That means that Google Opal uses three workflows. Number one is your input. Let me use my sketchboard. So number one here is your input. So your input is the information that you give to it, like, okay, this is what I want to do. That's the input. Then the input leads to, forgive me for my cursor, will lead to the process. So the process is what the AI does after you've given it the input. So you give it the input, and then there's the process, and then you now have the this my this thing is very bad though. I was never good in drawing, forgive me. And then this is now your output. So let me explain this in a simple way. So I want you to imagine that you go to, let's say when you go to the restaurant, you place your order. So once you place your order, that is the input. So you've placed your order. Now, the process is what happens after you've placed your order. That means what the chef is doing behind the scenes, the cooking process, how the chef is cooking it. Now, the output is when they are finished cooking it and they bring the food to you. That is the output, right? So this is the process that we are going to be following: input, process, and output. So now, I said we are going to be building an app for a little child. The goal of the app is to help the little child to learn, even when the parents are not there, to break down hard concept into very simple concept that the child can understand. So let's head back to our Google Opal app. So first, you come here, see where my cursor is. You come here, you click on input, and then you move it. When you click on input, you will notice that something will appear here. Let me go back and click it again. When you click on input, this appears. Now, when you come here, this is where you'll be working. This is just your interface where you'll be working. So this is your input. And then this place that you see generate is the process. That means what do you want the AI to do when you're giving it that input? So when you click on generate, another box will appear, right? And then this is the output. You just shift it, right? So this is, now you can see input generates output. So you can see, so when you give it the input, it comes to generate it, and then it comes to the output. So now let's go back to input. So input, now let's say for the child, now I want to build it. Let's say the child is a 12-year-old child, and her name is, let's say her name is Lola, right? So let's give it the input. Now, when you want to type anything to the input, this is where you come to the user input. So you type. So let's say, for example, what would you like to learn today? So when the child comes on the app, the first thing that she will see there is maybe, welcome Lola. What would you like to learn today? That then she will now put in her input today. So let's just write it here. Welcome, Lola. Put an exclamation mark. What would you like to learn today? All right. So this is going to be our first input. So now that we've had that, then we'll go to the generate. So let's say we ask Lola, what would you like to learn today? And Lola says something like, I want to learn about photosynthesis. Since she types that in, then that process will now move from here to here. This is a workflow. Remember, we are working with an AI agent. So you are telling it, once you've gotten this, this is the next step you should go to. So we now move to this step. So this is the step whereby we will now tell the AI what to do when it has gotten the inputs from here. So when you click on here, this will appear here. Then you come here. Let's name our workflow. What should we name this now? Let's name it this one is just the naming. So let's just name it um text. Let's just call it text. Then what will it do? So now remember when we learned about prompting, I explained to you that every prompt must have what? A goal, it must have the context, it must have a format, and must have a constraint. Then in the last class, I added one more thing to the prompt engineering structure, which is the role. So let me just write it here. And let's go back to our sketchboard. So every prompt must have number one, a what's the first thing now? A goal, a goal, and then what next? A context, and then a format, and then constraints, and then I added another one, which is the role. So let me just quickly, let's put this here. So now let's say, for example, I would like to, let's fill it with another, okay. So let's, all right. So now our goal is, what do you want? What do you want from this prompt? What do you want it to do? So the context now is giving it how to think towards the goal, right? The format is how you want the 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 output to be given to you. Then the constraint is just basically the limit it should not exceed. In other words, let's put this in 50 words or in 100 words, or and then the role is the personality that you want to give to the AI. So now let's come back to our Google Opal. So let's give it the prompts. So let's give it the prompts now. I'm going to be, now you can decide to use your ChatGPT. We are going to be using ChatGPT. And not that everything that I'm using to teach you this is free. So I have my ChatGPT already opened here, and I've not gone there yet. So let's give it the prompt. Now we are going to be using our head to type the prompt, right? So let's start with the role. So let's give it a role, a personality to embody. So we'll now tell it that you are a professional teacher that helps kids understand, a professional teacher that helps kids um, understand complex topics. So we'll now tell it to, whenever I give you an input, okay, let's let's do it like this. Let me go like this. You are an expert teacher. This is the role that we are giving it now. You're an expert teacher for children. Then I'll now proceed. The user will provide a topic they want to learn. All right. Then I'll now proceed to tell it what to do. Analyze and break down the topic in simple English, suitable for a 12-year-old. Then let's give it some constraints. Use short sentences. Anyway, what did I sentence? Anyway, use short sentences and familiar examples where necessary. Then let me see, add one more constraint that you should avoid unnecessary technical language. You know that if you are building it for a child, we don't want it using big words. All right, so let's take a look at this prompt. You are an expert teacher for children. The user will provide a topic they want to learn. That means over here we are going to give it a topic. So once we're giving it a topic, what we want it to do is to learn to analyze and break down the topic. So now we've given it a goal to break down the topic in simple English. Then we now give it more context that this thing is for a 12-year-old, right? Then we now give it the constraints, which is to use short sentences and then avoid unnecessary technical language and the rest of those things. So this is now what we are telling it to do. So did we update these things? Okay, we have our workflow, create new. I think we should update this. Click on user. Let's go back and update our workflow. Let's number 3 now is click inputs. I think we've done 4 also. Number 4 is click generate and input your prompts. Okay, so we are writing out our workflow so that you can follow it after now. All right, so now that we have this is the first step. So now that we have this, we'll now go to output. So output is what we want to see. So for now, let's not touch anything at the output. Let's leave it like that. But if you notice something, this workflow that we just defined, we've defined it, but we have not connected it. So how do you connect it? You take your cursor to this place. Can you see this place where there is a round circle with a dot? So you click on it and then you drag it and you bring it to generate. You see, when you just drag it to generate, it will create an arrow that connects it. Then you have to generate what to generate to the output. So what it simply means is that when I give you an input, generate it, the next step is for you to generate it. After generating it, you give me the output. So now let's test what we have done. So you go to when you want to, let's test what we've done so far. What just happened? What just happened? Do you know that what I just typed went off? Thank God I saved it. Then, all right. So, all right. So we are back on track. All right. So, once it's done, you will see it here. You see, you're an expert this thing for children and the rest of the stuff. Generates. I think we change this place to text. All right. It has shown here. So now, once you've done this, next thing is to go to preview. When you go to preview, this is what you will see. Then click on start. Now we are testing the app. So you click on start. Sorry, we did not connect this step. Okay, so now we've connected it. Then we go to preview. Then we click on start. So if we now we've clicked on start, you can see now, welcome Lola. What would you like to learn today? So let's say Lola wants to learn about photosynthesis. So we'll now say, what is photosynthesis? And then we click here. Bam. And so let's wait. You give it some time. All right. So it's out. So let's see what it says. It says, imagine you are hungry and want to eat a big plate of rice. Remember that it's explaining for a 12-year-old. So the context has been defined. That's why it's explaining it this way. So this is what my child now will now be reading. Imagine you are hungry and want to eat a big plate of jollof rice. You have to go to the kitchen to cook it, right? Plants also get hungry, but they don't have kitchens or stove. Instead, they make their own food through a process called photosynthesis. Do you see how it uses simple words to explain the concept so the child can understand with everyday things? Now, it now says, think of a big mango tree in your compound. For that tree to grow tall and give you sweet fruits, it needs to cook. Here are the ingredients it uses in our process to explain. So it uses the concept of cooking to explain how plants make their food, and then it goes on. So this is what we have so far. All right. So now let's add another step to this. Let's say I want it to put it in a story, right? So after explaining this, I would like it to give a little story so that the child can paint their imagination around the story. So how would I do that? So we'll come back to here because this is where the everything is being done. So we are going to come back here and then we are going to input it. So I'm going to add it now. At the end of the explanation, we start with a capital letter. At the end of the explanation, add a relatable story, put in bracket Nigerian context. A relatable short story so that it doesn't give us a long story. Add a relatable short story to help the child further grasp. Okay, so now we've done this. Now let's go and test it. So we'll go back to preview, then we'll refresh, then we'll start the app. Let's ask it again. What is photosynthesis? You can see when it's thinking, you can literally see that it's here. Then when it moves, it comes to this place. This is the output. And then we will have our results here. So let's wait. All right. Photosynthesis is how plants make their own food, just like your mommy uses a stove and pot. Let's see whether it added the story. Wow, it has added a story. Tunde and his mango tree. 12-year-old Tunde lived in a compound in Ibadan with a very big mango. Now, the reason I'm adding this is because kids tend to understand things more when you put it in a story format for them. Do you get? That is when kids get to understand. So now we've added this, okay, and it did it. All right, so let's take it a step further. Remember, we are building this app one by one. Did we update our workflow? No. Click generate and input your prompts. Okay, let us add another step now. Click on outputs. Let's add the sixth step. The sixth step now is to connect your workflow. Connect your workflow. All right. Okay, so let's go back here. Let's add where are we now? All right, so now I would like to add a picture. So let's say we add a picture such that when it has finished explaining the story, it can just add a picture there. You know that little children, they tend to remember what they see more than what they hear. So let's add a picture. Now watch this step. This step is going to have a little bit of it's not complex, but just watch. So we've moved this here. Now we'll delete the output for now. Let's delete the output and then let's add another step, which is the generate. So in this step is where we'll be generating our images. So I'm now going to write the underneath the text and the story. generated in the last steps. What I'm telling you that underneath what will be generating from these steps, creates a picture, create a picture underneath this the story write up to further help the child visualize the concept. Okay, underneath the text and the story generated in the last steps, create a picture underneath. Okay, so now that we've added this, remember we need to connect it. So we'll connect it here. Now you see we've connected it. Hey, I made a mistake. I should have connected it before typing my prompts. But nevertheless, let's type my prompts. Underneath the story generated in the last step, add create create an image to illustrate the story. All right, so create an image to illustrate the story. Now you see this place, that is this place here, you can see something here, agent. Now let me come back. Now if you come back to this step, this is the text. This particular place, this first workflow now is you probably going to be using something like Gemini, Flash, right? That is for the large language model, right? But when it comes to this one, because you are asking it to generate an image, you have to choose an agent that will generate the image, right? So let's use Nano Banana Pro, right? You can leave it at agents, and then it can decide the one it wants to use, but let's just choose the agents for it. So what it means that when you give it the input, when it comes here, it will use a large language model, which in this case is Gemini. When it comes to this next step, it will now be using Nano Banana to create the image, right? So after creating the image, then we'll have the output. So we'll go back to the output, we'll add the output, then don't forget to connect it. Then we connect it. So let's go back and test this and see. Now, one thing about creating apps is that you are going to be, as you are doing it, be testing it, because one, there can be something wrong. If something is wrong with the workflow, it can affect the work. So let's type our prompt again. What is photosynthesis? Now we create on generate. You see, it's here. This is the step that it has to follow your workflow. So this is the first step. It's here. You can see this thing is. So after writing it, it will generate. Then after generating it, will give us the output. So it's now generating the images. You just have to be patient for it to be done. Okay. All right. There is an issue in the workflow, because you see it only gave us the image without the write-up. So if that happens, then you have to come back to your workflow. That means there's something wrong with your workflow. Now, in this case, what happened is that because we added generate as the next step, what it did, that it assumed that it should generate everything, all the information we gave it here, it should generate. So there are two ways to solve it. Either you add everything to become one. So let's copy this. Let's copy this step now. Let's copy this step and let's delete it. So we'll delete this step. and then let's come here, let's add it to this particular one. So what we are trying to do is that instead of creating many workflow, we'll just add it to this one. This is just this is just one of the simplest way to create it. All right, so we are going to add it here underneath the write-up and story. I need to add this again. All right, so I've added this now, and then we'll connect it to our output. Now let's test it again. Now, this is the first way to solve it. Another way to solve it, especially if you have a lot of workflow, if you have a lot of workflow, let's say you have like this generates, you have like 4 to 5, or depending on the amount, the way to do it in such a way that the AI does not confuse it is at the last step of the workflow, you define what it should do. I'm going to be showing you that, because saying it, it will be hard for you to imagine. So let's just create this one and then we'll move there. So let's wait for it to finish creating. All right, so it has created it, and then it added the image, you see? So it added the image to illustrate the story of, what was the story? Shegun's grandpa. Let's see the story that he created this time. You see, the stories are always changing, so it's not like he's creating one story. So one sunny afternoon, Shegun was helping his grandfather in their vegetable garden in Ibadan, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. All right, so now I would like it to summarize this story. I would like it to summarize this story, right? Remember, at the end of every story, there should be a summary. So we'll go back here. Anything you want to change here in the output, all you just need to do is focus on this thing. Focus on what you ask the AI to do. That's the prompt. So let's go back to here. Now I want it to illustrate. So we'll now add it that underneath it, create a create a summary. Underneath it, create a summary highlighting key points. Okay, so let's go back and test it. Refresh. So let's test it again. I would also like to add an option where the child um listen to the story, like somebody reading it out. Although that will take a longer time to create, but you can also, anything you want to add, anything you can think of that you want to add to the app, all you just need to do is come here and edit it, right? So you just need to come here and you do the work here. Whatever you do here will come out here. So I think for this first class, I'm just going to focus on a single step workflow, because if I start adding other workflows now and start connecting, it might confuse you. But when I start from here, then the next one we can add up other workflows so that it's not complicated for you. All right, so let's see if it gave us the summary. Okay, it gave us summary key points. So this summary is just to explain everything that the child learned. I would still like to add one more feature. Let's say it's for my child now. I would like to, if I'm doing it for my child, I will add one more feature. And the feature will be something like, I will tell the AI agent to always tell my child how smart they are. You know that when you keep repeating things to people, they believe it, even if they are not it. So I'll now add it that underneath the key points, encourage the child and tell her how incredible she is. So this is just my personal one, because now this is for my child. So there's a way I want her to be. So right, let's test this. So let's go back to here. Start. What is photosynthesis? We run it. So you just give it some time, and then okay, so let's just go to the last step. And then at the last, you say you are an incredibly smart and bright girl, just like plants turn sunlight into something beautiful. You have the power to take everything you learn and turn it into greatness. Keep asking questions and explain the world around you. You're a superstar in the making. So imagine that every time she does, maybe she comes to learn from the AI is always telling her how smart she is. She's definitely gonna believe it. You get okay. So now that we finish, this is just version one. This is the basic of the basic, right? We are gonna get into complex things as we move on. So, but for now, this is the assignment for the week. Now, I want you to think of a simple problem, just a simple problem, maybe in your business or in your personal life that you feel like you can use AI to solve, like you can build an app to solve. So remember the process. First of all, you have to think of the problem and then how you want to solve the problem. And then after you've thought about how you want to solve the problem, you can now go on to building your app. You don't build the app and then start thinking of the problem. No, follow the workflow, the problem, the solution, and then the app. So how do we ship this app out to test it? How do we ship it out to test it? So you come to share and then we click on share. When you click on share, I'm going to be giving it to you people to share. Then you now click on anyone with the link. That means anybody with the link can open it and look at it. So you then this allow access to editor view and remix. No, when you click that off, that means they will not be able to edit it even if they have the link. Then we copy it. Done. And that is it. So now we've copied it. We can let's go to this other browser and paste in what we did and see what it looks like. Okay, so this is it. You click on start. Welcome, Lola. So that means all you just need to do is give her the link. Anytime you want to learn, Lola, click on this link and then it takes her to the app and then she can do whatever she wants there. So I'm going to be dropping the link to this. I'm going to be dropping the link to this app in the description in this video. So you can copy, you can test it out for yourself. And then for your assignment, what I want every group to do now, we have three groups. We have three groups. I want you all to come together for your first app. I want you people to do it together. So this is what will happen for the group leaders. So the group leaders are going to you people will decide on a particular problem you want to solve, right? A simple problem, not something complicated, a simple problem. So when you've decided on the problem, you decide on the solution, then you build the app, right? Then you build the app together. And when you've built the app, when you're done building the app, all of us will look at the app together. So that is your assignment for the week. So group leaders, please organize your team together. People should have a meeting. You can have a group call, discuss the problem, discuss the solution. And if there is something that you do not understand, ask it in the class, like ask it in the class group on WhatsApp. Just ask it there and I'm going to respond to everything there. All right. So that is it for this first side of the class. This is like version 1.1 of our class for today. So you can always follow this workflow. This is the workflow. Let me put it here. Sorry. Follow this workflow to. So you go to Google Opal, you click on create new, you click on input, click on generate, and then click on output. Then when you finish inputting your prompt, you connect the workflow and then you run it. That's just the workflow to go about creating the app. So yeah, that is it for today's class and have a wonderful weekend.